the Tin Man!
Good morning. It is Tuesday, July 2nd, 2019. My name is Scott, and I'm here to give you the Uber news that the Uber tubers don't seem to want to talk about. Okay, starting off with a local story here. Forsyth County, Georgia. Seems two guys went up to the gun range. Johns Creek Indoor Gun Range in Swanee, and broke in. There was a deputy in the parking lot though, so that didn't last long. So the suspects fled to a neighboring church and stole a van. These hardened criminals wrecked the stolen van. They're usually not good drivers. People stealing vans from churches. Anyhow, one of the suspects fled to an abandoned house and called for his Uber since they wrecked the van. When the Uber driver pulled up to the roadblock sometime after midnight, he picked the guy up from the abandoned house. Police were in the area and had a roadblock set up, so 18-year-old Devontae Minto of Lithonia was arrested. They got the address from the Uber driver. They went there, but his alleged partner apparently had escaped in his Uber and remains on the run. So, just par for the course. And in other news, oh, hang on a minute here. We're waiting on the Channel 2 ad loading machine to clear. This one comes to us, I can't quite pronounce the name of the city there. Officials are concerned about the lack of the control of the owners and drivers on the Uber app, who are often different individuals than the ones displayed on the app. Also, several of these drivers are registered on both Uber and Ola and switch platforms as and when they please. These drivers do not even display the company logo on their vehicles to avoid identification. Of course, they park all over the place and pose a problem to commuters as well as the actual taxi drivers who avoid requests from these areas, and commuters are often harassed. And these Uber drivers sometimes run 20 hours a day with different drivers. And in case of a complaint against an Uber driver, it becomes difficult to trace them. Moreover, a vehicle running for that long is not safe. Oh, wait a minute. This is from India, third world. So we try to stick to the news in the U.S. The third world taxi service has come to America. It's called Uber and Lyft. And the authorities, the reason I know it's from India, the authorities questioned the platforms about the rickshaw drivers who often deny duty to passengers, the cancellation of rides by the Uber drivers, and the surge fees during peak hours and when it rains. An official over there in India said they're meeting with the Uber lobbyists, and we have to understand what has been said in the meeting, so we cannot comment comment on anything at this point in time. Depending how much the bribe is, Uber will probably continue business there for a long time. Now, down in Sarasota, Florida, a woman describes a terrifying Uber driver, an Uber ride with a driver who wanted a 5-star rating. The Uber company says the driver's app access has been removed. It's been confirmed this was not Dustin, the Uber driver, who has an Uber Tuber channel. Dustin is driving. The Sarasota woman claims her Uber driver became agitated after he asked if she'd be giving him a 5-star review. Dustin, head of the famous Surge Club, that's his favorite line, tagline is, "You're going to give me 5 stars, aren't you?" She said what happened next frightened her. She said the man asked the question almost immediately after she hopped in the vehicle to go to a local restaurant Saturday night. When she told him she wasn't sure what star rating she'd give him and didn't see why not, Jennifer claims he got upset, eventually pulling over and starting to use his phone in a parking lot hidden behind some bushes. Jennifer tried to get out of his car but found it locked. She told the television station she frantically pulled on the door handle and had to demand that he let her out. The police told her the incident was a civil matter. An Uber spokesperson said the company had suspended the Uber driver and is investigating, meaning he'll be back on the app tomorrow. The woman has been refunded for the ride. I think that says it all. Now, over there in Jupiter, Florida, the town has set aside $3,000 to pay for rides to and from Jupiter town limits. It covers up to $15 per round trip or one-way rides. Our hope is that this will grow into a better program and we can set aside potentially $15,000 for future programs. City Councilman Coffer said the concept started after the Uber lobbyist visited because they saw an increase in DUI arrests. And we've noticed the most frequent times that we've had DUI arrests are on holiday weekends. So that's your taxpayer money going to a private company to pay for transportation. That's just wonderful, isn't it? And of course, not a day or two goes by between the Uber rapes. This Uber rapist is from Evansville, Indiana. This Uber driver, Michael Savage Banks, is facing a level 3 felony rape charge. He picked up this girl back in December 2018 who was being sent home in an Uber because she was very drunk. Later, the friends went to the victim's apartment and she wasn't there. They said they later found her with Banks, the Uber driver, who none of them knew, near the apartment. They say Banks told him his name was Jeremy, gave him, his name is Marshall. He said his name was Jeremy and gave him some of the victim's property and left. The friends told the police the victim began crying and said that Banks had lifted up her shirt, covered her mouth to muffle her screams, and raped her. The friends took her to the hospital where a rape kit was completed. Between December and July of 2019, authorities tracked down Banks by the Uber app because Uber will not cooperate with police in most investigations all investigations without a court order. They say he began throwing up when he answered the door, and he said he never touched her. However, authorities say the evidence found in the rape kit provides very strong support of the proposition that Marshall Banks is the contributor to the DNA profile. So Marshall was arrested Friday evening and is being held on $5,000 cash bond because, of course, he doesn't pose any danger to the community. He can just get out with $500 to a bondsman. So there's so much Uber news here, I just have to keep going. In Peoria, a woman was pulled over by a man flashing his lights at her, claiming he was an Uber enforcer. The 44-year-old woman was driving west on Main Street from Northeast Jefferson Street about 7 o'clock on Saturday when she noticed a man behind her was flashing his lights from high to low beam, as well as another light coming from the passenger side. The woman was skeptical, but the man wouldn't stop flashing his lights, so she finally pulled over to see what he wanted. When the man got out of his car, he walked up to her driver's side door and advised her that her rear driver's side tire was wobbling. After noticing the Uber sign, the man told the woman he was an Uber enforcer and that she could get a fine of $300 from Uber if she didn't fix her plate. She told police the man proceeded to insist on fixing her tire even after she refused multiple times. Eventually, she drove away and later called the police, who have not made an arrest. The Uber enforcer is still on the road. And over there in California, there's a Republican congressman who was cheating on his wife with an Uber lobbyist and taking free Uber rides to the woman's house where they were having the affair. I don't know exactly what to call that Uber employee, the lobbyist, but apparently her job is screwing congressmen. And congressmen, city councilmen, mayors, they all get free Uber rides for them and their family and friends. And Uber will provide receipts that they can then put on their bill to the taxpayer and write them off on their campaign. But anyhow, that Uber congressman, Republican congressman, is not in jail, not going to jail. He's got a fancy lawyer, and he left the courthouse and got into an Uber. In Milwaukee, police are investigating a car theft over the weekend, a theft which targeted an Uber driver. Police were called to Brady and Arlington shortly before midnight on Sunday. The victim said she was an Uber driver who had gotten out of her car to look for her customer. And somebody jumped into her car and started to drive away. The Uber driver tried to stop the car thief and was dragged down the road. The thief got away with her car, and now I guess she needs an Uber to get around. And finally, Uber is aiming to capture the West African markets. I can tell you from what I know that the taxi drivers in Africa take things like this very seriously and will probably ambush the Uber drivers on the dirt roads between the cities. So they're probably not going to capture that market, but it's a great place to blow millions and millions of dollars. And let's see, that about wraps it up for the news. As much has been reported. for July 2nd, 2019. My name is Scott Walsh, and I am the Tryp Man. Have a nice day, and I look forward to talking to you tomorrow. Tune in, hit the subscribe button, hit the bell for notifications, and remember, everybody loves Uber until they get Ubered.